Hi, everyone. Micaela Zettel, physiotherapist and still physio here again. And we have...
And I'm Kristen Bignell, and I'm also a physiotherapist.
So this is day 2 of our education series that we're bringing to you. Yesterday, we talked about the immune system and how it's affected by your nervous system. And then we listed out some things that are practical strategies that you can use now to help regulate your nervous system, which is going to help boost your immunity. So today we are talking about sleep hygiene. So this is the first practical piece of information with some strategies that you can use. And so I'm going to hand it over to Kristen to walk you through all the details of sleep hygiene.
So today we're talking, like Micaela said, all about sleep. So sleep is a very, very important part of our routine. There are multiple different things that happen when we sleep that are very important. So there are different cognitive processes, metabolic processes, and then also immune processes that happen while we sleep. And I'm gonna just give me 1 second, because I'm gonna just share some information with you that I thought was really interesting that I came across this morning. So on the Canada Public Health website, there are some statistics for Canadian adults that show that 1 in 4 to 1 in 3 adults do not get enough sleep. So they're not meeting the current recommendations. And then 1 in 2 adults have trouble going to sleep or staying asleep. 1 in 5 adults do not find their sleep refreshing. And 1 in 3 adults have difficulty staying awake during waking hours. And so, like we talked about, I think we're going to focus on the immune system today, because that's probably at top of mind for many people right now. And it also is very clear that most people are not getting enough good quality sleep. Or enough sleep. And so sleep deprivation can suppress the function of the immune system. So how much sleep are we supposed to get? So based on recommendations from Canada Public Health, anyone ages 5 to 13 years old should be getting 9 to 11 hours. 14 to 17-year-olds should be getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep per night. And 18-year-olds and older should be getting 7 to 9 hours. And then also anyone who is an athlete, so if you're doing more than the recommended, meeting more than the recommended physical activity guidelines, they also recommend taking a 30-minute nap between the hours of 2 and 4. And this is to help support post-exercise recovery and regeneration. And then in terms of quality, so some questions you can ask yourself to know whether or not your sleep is of good quality is you should be able to fall asleep relatively quickly when you go to bed. So that would be falling asleep within 20 to 30 minutes of when you turn out the lights. You should be able to stay asleep through the night, so you're not waking up, you're not being disrupted in any way. And then in the morning, you should be able to wake spontaneously. And then once you do wake up, within an hour, you should feel pretty refreshed and ready to go about your day. And then you should feel that way for most of the day until you're ready to go to bed again at night.
So when you say wake spontaneously, you mean no alarm clock, your body's used to getting up at the same time every day, so we shouldn't need to have an alarm set every day for us?
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
So I think that's probably pretty rare for most people, but that is the way that we should be functioning.
I just have to say, if there's anyone out there who wakes at a regular time on their own, let us know.
Yeah.
Love to hear from you. Because I don't.
And then I think another important thing, which to mention, is that there is such a thing as like a night owl or an early bird. So we are, to a certain extent, we are programmed to have our sleep cycle to prefer more of that, like either early bird, where you get up early and you're earlier to bed, versus the night owl. And so that is more or less biologically programmed, and part of it can be tweaked somewhat using different strategies that we won't go into. But if you're more of a night owl and you're trying to force yourself to go to bed early at night, that is going to impact your ability to get good quality sleep and to get the recommended number of hours of sleep. And so that is something that if you're interested in looking into, that would be good, because you're not going to, is like if you're let's say you're a night owl and you prefer to sleep in, you're not going to spontaneously wake at 6 o'clock in the morning. Like, that's just not realistic. And so I think figuring out what your preference is will also help you set up your schedule within reason, I think.
Yeah, that's a good point. That each person has to tailor their schedule to the way they function best. Yeah. And sometimes our jobs and society don't allow that, but it is good information to know and consider if you feel like you're struggling with some of this stuff.
Yeah. So we know that most Canadians, or a lot of Canadians, are having problems with either getting enough sleep or getting good quality sleep. We also know that if you're not getting enough sleep, or you're deprived of sleep in some way, that's going to impact the immune system. And then if we tie this back into what we talked about yesterday with the autonomic nervous system. So if you haven't listened to that video, make sure you go back and listen to that. Otherwise you might get a little bit lost. That if you're not getting enough sleep, that could be a result of too much sympathetic nervous system activity and not enough parasympathetic. So sympathetic is your fight or flight, your stress response, and then the parasympathetic is the rest or digest. So if you don't have enough, if you have too much sympathetic, not enough parasympathetic, that's going to impact your sleep. And then also, if you're not getting enough sleep, that's going to feed into you having more sympathetic activity, and it's this cycle that makes it hard to sleep. So a lot of these strategies that we're going to talk about shortly are sort of targeted around addressing the nervous system and restoring balance, some of them. So things that you
interrupt one sec. So just to recap, it's kind of a vicious cycle. So more stress, worse sleep, more stress, and then you get into a cycle of not getting good sleep, having more stress, and it can be challenging to come out of that.
Yes. Yeah. Because we also know too that if you're sleep deprived, there are also things like you can have different so you can end up with problems with memory, mood issues, and all of those are going to feed into the stress response and poor sleep too. So in terms of things that you don't want to do, things you want to avoid doing, you don't want to be spending time on screens within the 1 to 2 hours before you go to bed. And the reason being that screens emit blue light, and blue light affects our production of melatonin, which is necessary for falling asleep and staying asleep. So screens would emit the highest amount, but also our regular light bulbs do emit some blue light. So that is something to be aware of. If you insist, so for example, if you have, can you hear me okay still?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you cut out for a second, but you're back.
Okay. So for example, if you have kids or teenagers and you just can't keep them away from the screens, but you know that it's probably affecting their sleep, you can buy something called blue light blockers, which are, I brought mine here because I do wear mine the night before bed. So they work awesome. So they are yellow tinted lenses that filter out the blue light. You can get them off Amazon. They're really cheap. So that's an option. And then also on most cell phones, I believe you can set a blue light filter so that it's not emitting blue light. And you can actually set it so that it turns on at sunset and then turns off again at sunrise. So that's an option as well. And that can help improve sleep quality. The other thing that people think that they can do that is not effective is playing catch up on sleep. So if you're Maybe you're getting like 5 or 6 hours of sleep per night during the week, and then you're trying to play catch up again on the weekend. That is not the same. That still counts as being deprived of sleep, even if you do make up the total number of hours later on. You shouldn't have any light emitting devices next to your bed. So that would be like your phone, even your alarm clock. You can get alarm clocks where you can turn the actual time function off so you don't see it at night, but it can still keep your alarm for you. So I have one of those, because that can also influence how well you sleep. You want to avoid doing stimulating activities before bed. So that might even be, some people are okay exercising before bed, but oftentimes that can be a little bit too stimulating, or it stimulates your sympathetic fight or flight system, and then your rest and digest is a little bit lags a little bit, so it's harder to fall asleep. And then you want to avoid consuming alcohol, caffeine, or nicotine before bed, because those will also impact your ability to sleep.
So that glass of red wine before bed isn't a good idea?
No. So you might feel like you can fall asleep better after that glass of red wine, but it does affect your quality of sleep.
Darn.
Yeah. Yes. So things that you can do, and these are all very practical things that are all well within your control, are making sure that you keep your room comfortable and quiet. So you can use a sleep mask or earplugs, which I use both of those to help keep out any sort of sensor, like extra stimulation, make sure that I can stay asleep. You can also get blackout curtains. Those are pretty common. You want to make sure your bedroom's at a comfortable temperature. So making sure it's not usually too warm is one of the bigger problems for people. You should schedule 1 to 2 hours of downtime prior to bedtime, including relaxing activities with low light exposure and no screens. So that would be the time where you can wear your blue light glasses, things like reading. If you want to do like yoga or gentle exercise, that would be also a good option. And that kind of ties into the next one, is practicing strategies that will help to regulate your autonomic nervous system. So things like mindfulness, meditation, exercise, breathing. And we're going to go into more detail about some of those in our videos later.
Yes. We'll talk about breathing.
Yeah.
We have a lot of clients that will practice this breath actually before bed.
Yeah.
Help them fall asleep, and also work on other things that we will talk about tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other thing that's important is to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. So that's not just during the week, that's weekdays, weekends, and establishing a regular sleep schedule. And so again, that's important, because if we're getting good quality sleep, that's helping with our metabolism, our cognitive function, our immune system, and it helps to support a more balanced nervous system, which again feeds in. They support one another, the sleep and the nervous system function.
So, as like a quick check-in, if somebody was going through this and wondering if they have good sleep, they could see how long they're sleeping for.
Yeah.
And then evaluate how they feel first thing in the morning. Like, do they feel super excited and pumped about the day, or do they wish they could just keep sleeping?
Yeah.
And that would give you an indication of your quality of sleep. Is that accurate?
Yeah. And I think, did you say how long it takes to fall asleep? Like,
didn't think that. Like, I guess, how would you? So I was thinking like an easy thing to measure would be, if you think you go to bed at 10 or 10:30 and then you wake up at like 7, you could
calculate,
approximate how many hours you're sleeping, and then how you feel when you first wake up in the morning.
Yes.
But are there other things that are easy for people to check?
I think people know generally if it takes them a long time to fall asleep also is one thing to kind of be mindful of, or like if you're waking up for like a prolonged period of time in the middle of the night. I think sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, that's the other thing. A lot of times people think that they have to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, but they're actually just awake So then they go to the bathroom. Whereas if they were sleeping deeply, our bodies are designed that we don't actually need to void our bladder in the middle of the night. So that's another thing. If you're like, oh, I sleep well, but I get up to go to the bathroom, you might not be getting good quality of sleep throughout the whole night. Is that also fair?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And then you were going to say something because I cut you off.
No, that's okay. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
So for people watching, Kristen and I talk a lot and work together a lot, and we always cut each other off. And then we try to do this thing where we remember what we're going to say because we just want to say so many things at the same time. And now you've witnessed it. All right. Okay. So did you have anything more you wanted to say, Kristen, about sleep? Oh, the other thing, you obviously use a lot of these sleep hygiene techniques and strategies. And I'm realizing there are probably some things I need to do a little bit better. Now that I don't have to get up for work, however, I'm noticing I automatically wake up between 7 and 7:30 because I don't have anywhere I have to go. So that's a good thing.
That is good. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. If people have questions about sleep strategies, can they ask you?
Yeah, they can for sure ask us. Either send us a message on, so we'll have this posted on like our social media. Okay. So you can send us a message on there. We also have a blog on our website that talks a bit about sleep and sleep hygiene. It's a little bit more tailored towards athletes, but there is a lot of the same information on there, but you can find information on how to contact us on the Instill website. So www.instillphysio.ca.
Yes.
That's the right?
Yeah, you did. And if you guys think anybody could benefit from this information, please give it a share. Otherwise, we will wrap up today and we will see you tomorrow to talk about breathing and a lot more. So you definitely don't want to miss that one.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.